Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
Hey guys, before we get going, make sure you smash that like button and also hit the subscribe button if you are new. I greatly appreciate it. Lastly, every Wednesday on my Twitter page, @Brodes81, I run a Hump Day giveaway. This week, I'm giving away an Eagles jersey, Devontae Smith. Do not miss out on that. There's a pinned tweet at the top of my profile that explains the rules. And keep your eye out because a new giveaway is coming very shortly as I upload this Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. There's going to be something new. Make sure you're engaged. All right, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. Well, the Sixers did not have a good day. They had a chance to clinch the number one seed, and their offense turned into a flat-out disaster in the second half. In the third quarter, they scored 13 points. In the fourth quarter, they scored 19 points. And some are saying, well, the third quarter wasn't as bad. They were just missing wide-open shots. And I do believe that there's something to that. I do think that they missed wide open looks in the third quarter. I do think that Seth Curry decided not to shoot the basketball anymore, which is very bizarre considering that's what you do. That's what you excel at so much. Let it fly, man. That's what Seth Curry is all about. Make that last name proud. Shoot the three ball as much as possible. Hell, I'd rather you overshoot it than undershoot it. You're passing up on many opportunities to rock a three ball. I was a little stunned, even though I shouldn't be, because that statement of Seth Curry didn't shoot as much as he should have, or Seth Curry passed up on opportunities. That sentence, that phrase, that just statement about Seth Curry has been mentioned multiple times this year. So I don't know if it's because he's thinking about getting his teammates going or he doesn't want to be someone who shoots it too much and looked at as someone who's not getting his teammates the ball. I don't know. But Seth, you're a three-point specialist who, when you're hot and when you're rocking, there's no stopping you. And guess what? Right now, over the last handful of games, you've been on one of your hottest stretches. So to me, it's mind-boggling that he hesitates and he's wide open and he decides to pass up that shot. I would never do it in a million years. Never. And I'm not even a shooter. Just crazy. So I hated the way the offense looked late. And yeah, some of that is on Ben Simmons. Now, it sucks because Ben Simmons was so damn great offensively for probably about 85% of this basketball game. 80 to 85%. He was aggressive, going downhill, not afraid to attack, actually taking jump shots, fadeaways, you name it. You saw Ben Simmons dive into his bag. You also saw the downfall of Ben Simmons. That makes me very nervous for what we're going to see. For him to pass up the ball and give it to Mike Scott, late game situation, the way that he did, that's the problem with Ben Simmons, and that's the issue with half-court basketball. And Joel Embiid's not on the floor. Things change when Joel Embiid is not on the floor. That's obvious as can be. The way I look at it, though, is if this Indiana Pacers team with Sabonis, who had a fantastic day at the office, may I add. He finished with 16 points, 15 assists, and 13 rebounds. So he was definitely sensational and had spurts of, wow, there's Sabonis. But when you look at this roster and you look at what's on their team, Karis LeVert, Sabonis, who else was out there? Holiday, TJ McConnell. That's not even close to what you're going to see in half-court sets when the team is actually talented, playing with confidence, and has superstar talent on the other side. I'm not talking about the first series. Hell, I'm not even talking about the second series. But when your NBA team is first in the Eastern Conference, and they will be, even though they did not close the door on that tonight, they probably will Thursday against the Miami Heat. And quite frankly, they're going to regardless. It's already the Sixers. It's just about when, not if. When you are the number one seed, it's not about the first series. It's not about the second series. You look big picture. You look, how do you get to the NBA Finals? You look of your road. It's not getting too far ahead. That's what you do when you are a number 1 seed in the NBA. You think about your road and you think about, okay, when is it going to get tough? When is that first matchup that scares you? How are you going to beat those teams? What are their flaws? What are your flaws? Ben Simmons, unfortunately, for me personally, he ruined all of the great play that he had early on because his biggest issues were not fixed. I know that I know that he does that. I know that he could beat up on an Indiana Pacers team during a regular season game when it's up and down and up and down and up and down. What happens when it slows down? And if he's struggling against this team, this product, when it slows down, I would only imagine that when it's a better opponent, it's going to be maybe even worse than what we saw in this game. And yeah, I mean, I just didn't love it. I didn't love the ending, and it sucks because he did have a really strong day, and he had over 20 points, and it was fun to watch him. I actually had a ton of joy watching him get to the rack, full speed, Ben Simmons in transition, going downhill, and when he's dribbling the basketball that fast and nobody can stop him, and it ends up with a powerful dunk where you see his explosiveness and you see his reaction and all of it. I mean, it's magnificent. I had a ton of fun, and then I watched the ending, and I was bothered. Some things I didn't love out of Doc Rivers as well. I'm not saying he had a full deck of cards because he didn't. Shake Milton was out with knee soreness. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Matisse Thybulle not playing and Joel Embiid not playing. So I'm not telling you he had all of these options where I think he left the options on the bench, or I just think he kept the bench in too long. Like when the bench was playing, I think he probably should have went to some of the starters, put them back into the game. He stayed with his bench too long, and ultimately that was a big part of the failure. I'm not going to say it's different when you don't have all of your pieces in place, okay? So I'm not telling you that it was just 100% on the decision by Doc Rivers. I just didn't love the way that he handled it, and that's why I've been throwing this question out there all throughout this last week. What do you expect out of Doc Rivers with the bench? Is it fair for me to say my big fear is Doc Rivers doesn't handle the bench properly, goes to an all-bench lineup, or tries to throw too many bench players in there, and it ends up hurting you? Once again, you could probably get by here and there in the first series when you're up 3-0 in the series and you're up 25 points in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go. Could you maybe get away with throwing a Tyrese Maxey? That's not what I'm talking about. All right, I'm talking about, when I talk about playoffs, I'm talking about when the notch gets turned and now we're seriously looking at lethal competition and not so much the Charlotte Hornets or the Boston Celtics who blow and they no longer have Jaylen Brown. So I'm not talking about those teams. Those teams are irrelevant. Those series are irrelevant. I'm talking about when things really, really get going and the criticism starts to take that next step. And that's just a different type of beast. Doc Rivers is just not a fan of using his challenges. And if I'm going to sit here and tell you that I'm worried about Ben Simmons, that's inevitable. But with Doc Rivers, if my biggest fear out of him is 5 to 7 minutes of the bench, ultimately, your biggest fear is not the biggest problem in the world. It is a fear of mine, and 5 to 7 minutes could be a difference maker in a playoff game. But I'm telling you, I understand that if that's my biggest fear out of Doc, the fact that 5 to 7 minutes concerns me, we're not in the worst place in the world, considering Giannis and the Bucks need to get over that hump, and they haven't been able to. And Budenholzer's been a mess there with some of the minutes and the way that they've handled the star. So that's a problem for them. The Brooklyn Nets, you just don't know if they have enough bench and depth. You can't fix that. You could fix not going to your bench as much and changing your rotations. So every team has their problems. My problem with Doc is that he also doesn't use his challenge ever. And when Ben Simmons picks up that fifth foul with an egregious situation, I would like to think that Doc would look at that and see that as a chance to maybe use that challenge, see how the league reacts, see how the refs react, and kind of put that in his brain. It's like he just writes them off now and never uses them at all. So that's where I kind of was with Doc in this game. But Ben, it pissed me off. There was a lot involved, though. Ben was 9 of 16, by the way. Shriveled up towards the end, which is kind of what we see out of Ben Simmons more times than not. What else was pretty brutal? I thought Danny Green had a tough day at the office. It looked like maybe his feet was in quicksand at times, and That's naturally going to happen with a player like Danny Green, who we always date back to how much basketball he's played, but now that you're getting so deep into this regular season, just think about where he was last year, how much time he played. It was a lot. It was a lot of time played with the Lakers, going to the bubble, short off season, winning the championship. Now, this is when that impacts you. And I've actually been pleasantly surprised with how his body at his age, with everything I just mentioned, that context added to that. I'm pretty pleasantly surprised with how he's played to this point in general. But you're going to see games like this just based off of it. And I think you saw that today. He definitely had a tough day. How about when he got blocked in the corner? And it's funny that happened where they overturned it. There was a game, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where LeBron James was taking a three-pointer. For some reason, I want to say it was Lakers-Clippers Christmas Day. I could be wrong. Maybe it was before the pandemic all happened. I forget exactly when it was. But LeBron James was taking a three. He set his feet and he took a shot. And he got swatted. And in super slow-mo, you see when he shot the ball. I mean, this is just standard. I mean, you could make this happen on every play is my point. When it gets blocked, because the ball is in his hands, when it gets blocked, it hits his hands last, because when you block a shot out of somebody's rhythm, it's going to hit off their hands out of bounds. The same thing happened with Danny Green in this game where they overturned it late. The problem I have with that is that happens every single block. Every single block that goes out of bounds when a shooter is going up and rising to take the jumper and someone comes out of nowhere and blocks it out of their hands in mid-shot, it's going off of the fingertips of the shooter every time. I'm not talking about after it gets released. That's a different story. But think about how many times the shooter gets blocked in that motion. A lot more times than just at the end of the game where they decide they can super slow-mo zoom in. And I remember bitching and complaining at the time that that's such a dumb call, because naturally physics will tell you that it's going to go off the shooter every time. But if that happens in the second quarter, third quarter, or in the first quarter, it's going to stay with the 76ers. It will stay with the Lakers. But when it's the fourth quarter with 12 seconds to go, let's take 9 camera views and focus heavily on it. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing every single damn time. So I guess my problem isn't necessarily with the call, because technically, by the letter of the law, it's not the wrong call. I guess my problem is with the consistency of it, and if that's the rule, which it is, the technicality of it is, that is the rule, well then don't give me half-ass in the first, second, third quarter and only call it that way in the fourth when there's 30 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute and 20, 2 minutes and 10 to go. I'm just hypothetically throwing out numbers here. Come on. To me, I mean, I was right. I wasn't against the call. It just reminded me of that big controversial Lakers play where, I got ripped apart because I didn't like it. I thought at the time it should have stayed with LeBron because it was a good block. And for some reason, Patrick Beverley is the one that comes to mind with that play. But anyway, yeah, you just saw something very similar. You saw some flashes out of Tyrese Maxey at 11 points in 17 minutes, and you can keep having that discussion on, is he earning his way into a Doc Rivers rotation? I still say no. I still say too young. I still say too raw. I still say not the time for him yet, unless it's an insane blowout in round one. That's the only way I'm putting him in there. And even then, I'm putting starters in there with him in that blowout just to make sure if anything goes wrong that there is some sort of comfortability out there of the big man or some players that I can rely on and count on. But he's definitely seizing the moment. I'll say that. Every time his number's called, he's showing flashes and he's showing growth and he's showing development. Not afraid, attacking the rim, shooting the ball, vision, helping out his teammates. Maybe some alley-oops to Dwight Howard with penetrating, waiting for the right moment for Dwight to roll, throwing it up to Dwight for a big slam. The patience, the poise, just the game. I don't think the game is as fast for him. Everyone talks about how when you play more and you get more experience, the game slows down. I think we're seeing that for Tyrese Maxey, and he's making it tougher for Doc Rivers, but I still think at the end of the day, you need these savvy veterans and these experienced guys more so than, the young rook. That's going to make mistakes, and that's understandable. I can't have those mistakes happening, though, when it's the third quarter, it's the second quarter of a playoff series where we're the number one seed and we got to make sure we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and then whoop some ass in a tough-ass series against either Milwaukee or Brooklyn. I just can't have that. Me personally, I can't have it. Tobias Harris, 27 points. He had some nice moments out there, but, I just think about that fourth quarter and the deficiencies of this team. It's just sloppy, and it comes down to leadership at times, for sure. It comes down to the leadership group being out there on the floor and recognizing this isn't what it is supposed to be. We got to calm things down and make sure that things change. We can't have Karis LeVert heating up later in the game. We can't have Dougie McBuckets going against Danny Green and winning that battle with backdoor cuts and beating Danny Green easily with Danny Green's defensive possessions. I mean, that just can't happen. It can't. So Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, as the leaders of the crew without Joel on the floor, you would like to think down the stretch they kind of, I was expecting a Doc Rivers timeout. Calm things down, whether the Pacers took the lead or not, whether I'm saying before they took the lead or after they took the lead. How many times this year have we seen a team, and this is more when there was a full bench in play, but let's say the full bench was in play, the Sixers lose a little bit of lead, you throw all your starters back in there, and the snap of your fingers, the Sixers are up 5, they hit some free throws, then they close it out, and you get the victory. You might not feel fantastic about it, but they secured the win. It's another inch closer to getting that number 1 overall seed in the Eastern Conference. I thought at this rate, that was going to be what happened because that's what they have showed us to this point. They were on a decent win streak. Maybe you could throw out there that they were due for a loss. It was inevitable that at some point they were going to lose, and without Joel on the floor, this was probably the game to do it. I would say I would understand that if that's how the whole game played out. If they just had a stinker in general, it would be a different story for me, but they were up big, and they were cruising, and they were looking like they were in control, and then out of nowhere, that second half happened, and then out of nowhere, Ben Simmons happened. The Ben Simmons downfall that we've had a billion question marks about. Don't tell me I'm not allowed to be upset about that. Don't tell me I'm only allowed to focus on the 80% that he did very well on, where he had 16 field goal attempts, which satisfies me. 9 of 16, 20 points. Everything Ben Simmons did prior to that fourth quarter, that's amazing. I need that Ben Simmons more than I'm getting, for sure. And I'd be completely stoked if that's what I got out of Ben Simmons. I'm not a you need to shoot the 3 guy. I'm a you need to actually look to score guy. And when things get, slower and when things get a little bit sloppier for this team, you're the primary point guard, dude. You're the guy that's supposed to be getting your teammates these good looks, and you're supposed to be taking advantage of mismatches, and I don't think he did that very well in the fourth quarter at all. You're giving the basketball to Mike Scott, and it was just embarrassing. That's an embarrassing possession out of a guy that had such a strong game all game long, and that's what defines him for me, though. Someone who, when it doesn't matter as much, will be aggressive, will shoot his jumpers, will flex, will do all that in the smaller moments. In the bigger moments, his flaws, his deficiencies become way more noticeable. So how do you value that? How do you specifically value that? Because I don't as much as others, apparently. I truly don't. I think it's funny, though, and it just shows you where the roster is at this moment in time without Matisse and without Shake and all, that Isaiah Joe in the fourth quarter is hitting you big 3-pointers. Good for him. Good for him. I talked about it with Tyrese Maxey. Make the most of that moment. You're getting your number called. Make sure you hit those threes. Make sure you let it splash. Make sure you pop as many wide open looks as you can get because they're going to come very limited for you and you're not getting a lot of playing time. Just make sure, the coach remembers, that's right, Isaiah Joe did have that big fourth quarter shot. Not that I'm talking about that translating to play. I'm just talking about that translating for whatever is next for Isaiah Joe in the long run. He's a real long-term project here. He's got a good skill set. He's very unique in his play, coming into this role and all. I love it. We're going to groom him. We're going to, as Brett Brown would say, maybe grow a bomber. I know that might not satisfy people to say that way, but that's what you're doing with Isaiah Joe. And good for him for hitting that 3, but it's just funny as hell that's the guy who's doing it late in the game. And speaking of Brett Brown, and I know that people get frustrated listening to me mention that, but I got this text message on the Anytime Hotline, and we'll play some calls in just a moment here, but this was the text I got after the game. So I know Joel didn't play, but I'm still heated. Very poor performance in the second half. I feel like Brett Brown was in the locker room ruining their mojo. Do we win with Joel? I think so. Should we win without Joel? I think so. Pissed. So here's what cracks me up. I feel like Brett Brown was in the locker room ruining their mojo. Now, you know what I feel happened? Ben Simmons sucked late. That's what I feel. And the fact that it's, Brett Brown, like, come on. No. This has been a problem with Ben Simmons for how many years? In what universe do you watch this game and somehow you're triggered into thinking, Brett Brown, I feel Brett Brown. No! I feel Ben Simmons is still the issue. How do you not feel that way? He's still here doing the same problems, the same issues coming out on the floor. It's the same damn thing. So in what universe, and this is where like my brain doesn't work like some of these other individuals, the players are more of the problem than the coach. You love Doc Rivers to death, don't you all? Ben Simmons still has the same problems. And you're losing a basketball game because Ben Simmons still has the same problem. It's not the only reason. It's not the only reason. But that has been an issue for years and years and years, and you're not seeing growth in that particular moment. And it goes back to the famous 2021 question, with Joel Embiid, does it matter? I don't know. We're going to have to see how teams double-team Joel, how teams defend Joel, defend Tobias Harris. How is Ben Simmons' inability to play offense, how does that change the way that other teams spread their defense around the floor in a defensive possession? We won't know until we see that. So until we see that, we do not have that information. But when I got that text message, I'm just laughing inside internally. Like, really? And that's the difference between me and everybody else that blames coaches first and all that. No. Ben's the problem more than someone with Brett Brown's mojo in the locker room. What the hell does that even mean? I don't know. I'll tell you what the greatest jewelry in the world means. It means DeSimone Jewelers. They are my jewelers, and I will never go to another jewelry place again in my entire life. They're located in Haddonfield, New Jersey. And let me tell you this. If you are looking to get your significant other a great piece of jewelry, whether it's for her birthday, for a holiday, they are the place to go. All right? They manufacture every ring they make from start to finish on location. And because of that, they're able to beat competitors' prices. True story. I had a buddy go get an engagement ring at another location. When I saw it, we were talking about it. What'd you pay? This and that. Whoa, dude. No. Come talk to my guys at DeSimone Jewelers. He ended up doing that, and they did a transfer, brought the ring back to the other place. Oh, my God, half the price and even bigger the rock. It's insane, the work that they do. So I want you to head on over to Haddonfield, New Jersey. They used to be in Jewelers Row. Now they're in Haddonfield, New Jersey. They're a family-owned business with over 40-plus years of experience, and they don't use sale tactics. They educate you, and they treat you like family. Go there and tell them that Brodes sent you, okay? They are phenomenal. I guarantee you will have the best experience. Tell them Brodes sent you. All their information to their website and their phone number is down below in the description. All right, let's head on over to the best in the business. That's the Anytime Hotline. This is my favorite, man. I love it. I literally love hearing from everybody after the games are over. Let's hear what you had to say after missing out on a chance to clinch.
So this is like tell me you're disappointed without actually telling me you're disappointed type of situation. I'll go first. Ben Simmons with however many points he has left, and yet with 1 minute and 24 seconds has a chance to dunk on Domantas Sabonis, passes it out to the wing, and now we have Danny Green getting ready to shoot a three and he bricks it. What the heck? What are we looking at? Now I know Joel didn't play, but come on now.
Yeah, I think that, Ben, the Mike Scott one comes up to me. I don't know, did you mean Mike Scott or are you referencing a different one? But I know the Mike Scott one was glaring. Here's what I know, though. Ben Simmons has a problem. Ben Simmons is still an issue. Ben Simmons is still going to cost this team until he decides I am going to fully be able to take what I did in that game for 80 to 85% of it and apply it to late games. I don't get it. The mentality was there. Why shell off? Why shy off? Because you're not confident enough. Well, the only way to be confident about it is to do it and see yourself be in that moment. And even if you fail, maybe the expectations that you have for yourself is because I remember hearing Ben say this. I'm not going to shoot threes at 30%. I'm just going to wait to shoot threes until I can do it at 40%. And that's an asinine statement. That's a garbage statement. That's a pathetic, embarrassing statement out of Ben Simmons. In what universe? How do you make that jump? The only way to make that jump from 30 to 32 to 34 to 38 to 40 is to be actually shooting the jump shots in a game. And that's from 3. And I'm just saying that's what he said specifically in the past. So is he applying that to him being different in the second, in the last minutes, in the last couple minutes, the last couple seconds of a game? I'm not going to close out games offensively until I know I'll do it at a high clip. Well, Ben, you won't know that you can do it at a specific clip at all until you actually do it. And that's what blows my mind. Do it. If you fail, do you think, right, especially in a game like this, in particular, this is when we want to see growth. We want to see it with Tyrese Maxey. We want to see it with Isaiah Joe. We want to see it with Shake Milton. Growth. Show us growth. Growth. We're okay with development. If you fail because you take that last second shot instead of passing it off to Mike Scott or whoever else you want to pass it off to, and you miss, and we can at least see that there's a mindset and there's a different philosophy involved with your brain, that will, I mean, I know that for sure for me will satisfy me. I need to see that you're willing to do it. That's step 1. Execution's part 2. At some point the execution has to come. I'll only be satisfied for so long until I start getting pissed off that there's no execution. You can't just do it forever without the execution coming. But for right now, dude, it's like, damn. And I wonder if he's applying that same logic that he had with the shooting threes to the closing out games.
What's up, Brodes? I'm too busy watching the Phillies right now, but the Sixers just lost. I'm putting back and forth here. But they scored 62 points at the half, and then they only scored 10 or 13 in the third and only 20 in the fourth. That's kind of bad. I mean, it is kind of bad. It really is bad. So, didn't really get much offensive execution in the second half. I mean, I'm not really, it's game 62 of 72. I don't really care. I mean, they want to get the 1 seed. They had the Miami Heat and 2 Magic games, so they're only the 1 seed either way. But it's whatever. It's just a game. The playoffs are around the corner, though, so let's focus on that.
Now, look, I get what you're saying. In theory, this game doesn't mean much. And you're not wrong. I'm not losing sleep because they lost this game after winning X amount in a row. I think it was 8 games in a row. And they fell without Joel, without Matisse, without Shake Milton. They're lower on the bodies, right? I'm not saying that Shake Milton's the difference in winning basketball games or not at this junction of the season. But yeah, you get my point, and I'm with you. I understand. When it comes to this game specifically and the loss, am I crying about it? No, I'm not crying about it. Am I devastated about the loss? No, I'm not devastated about the loss. I'm hurt about Ben Simmons, that's for damn sure, but in general about this specific game, no. And in the beginning, you say, you're watching the Phillies. No. Oh, come on, man. I got the 3 TVs set up in the iPad for a reason. I got 4 screens. My ass is watching it all. All right, I got every game going, my notepad going. I got my Phillies notes. I got my Sixers notes. I'm jotting things down. You should see me when it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and both games are on. I got everything on tack, baby. I got 4 remote, bang, 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 bang. Notepads, bang, bang, bang. Making sure I don't miss anything. 2:32 left in the second quarter, bang, bang, bang. Oh, what's happening in the 5th inning? Bases loaded, bang, bang, bang. I got it all, man. I got it all. So trust me, I saw everything. I witnessed everything, But I'm with you. I got you. It's not going to hurt us. It's not going to be extremely painful losing this game. But, there's one big issue that's always been an issue, and that can be addressed.
What a tough loss, man. Horrible second half for the Sixers. It's disappointing when you can wrap up the first seed tonight and you come out in the second half looking bad. No ball movement, no nothing. I know it wasn't no Milton, Thybulle, and Embiid, Korkmaz, but the execution was awful.
It was. It was one of the ugliest we've seen in some time, and it's gonna be damaging. That's for sure. And there's one thing that I forgot to mention, and I want to bring this up here. Let me bring this up before we end the show. And it has to do with this, because I'm thinking about, when you mention all the guys injured and whatnot, I'm thinking about, okay, Mike Scott in the starting lineup, and you're not really going to see that. But when you think about what you want to do to go small ball, if you need to go small ball. The counterattack of a small ball center, yeah, Ben Simmons is probably your best option. Is that a good option, though? And is that going to really hurt you? That's why the Bucks, I've stressed this enough over the last week. I swear to God, I said it 10 billion times. There's something about the big man of the Bucks that really concern me. And if you want to go small at all, there's an issue here with this team. That is an issue with this 76ers basketball team that could technically really hurt them. I don't know if it will. If they see the Nets, it's a different thought process. So I'm not saying it's going to cost this team anything. Quite frankly, it might not. You might be able to get away with not having that. But I do think that small ball option, it's great. We could think Ben Simmons is versatile enough to do that, and he can to a degree. But I do think that is going to be an area that concerns me. Now, we can date this back to the earlier discussion. If you're telling me small ball 5 to 7 minutes off the bench, and Doc Rivers' challenges are my biggest concerns or the lack thereof, I think the Sixers are in a good spot. And yeah, no doubt, I'm agreeing with that assessment. No doubt. I can say that 93% of this team, I'm ready to rock for an NBA title. 7%, I'm nervous. I can have some nerves. I can have some concerns. It doesn't have to be where you think this team is perfect. No team is perfect. No team that wins a title is perfect. Your stars make up for your flaws. Your stars take you farther and overachieve from those flaws, and then you go in. That's what the NBA is all about. So no team is one hundo going into anything, all right? So we'll see. We'll see if this team has that in Joel, in Tobias, to be able to close the door with the veteran presence of Danny and everybody else involved. So that's where we are at with the Sixers. We'll see if they can do what they need to do on Thursday night against Miami. Before I let you know, big names are headlining this weekend's UFC 262 card, and there will be no shortage of action. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a heavyweight offer for this weekend's fight with 100-1 odds. One fighter will be walking away with the belt. Will you be walking away with the cash? Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on a main card fighter to win. Place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code Brodes to turn $1 into $100 on select main card fighters. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.